Climate change and related disasters present huge risks to sustainable development and the eradication of poverty, especially for the world's poorest, many of whom are dependent on the natural environment for their survival. Now, while there has been relative progress since the Sustainable Development Goals were agreed on, in many countries, economic growth has not been inclusive or equitable, failing to eradicate poverty and undermining the natural environment at the same time. So to achieve this, we must address a number of environmental resilience concerns, which include supporting environmentally resilient poverty reduction, empowering farmers economically in a more resource-efficient manner. Now, today on The Pulse, we're going to discuss the work of the Ghana Federation of Forest and Farm Producers in empowering women to escape poverty and help build inclusive communities to respond to climate resilience. Here are our guests in the studio. Hajia Alima Sagito Said is from PFAG, Ghana. That's the Federation of Forest and Farm Producers. Mark Kebo Akparibo, I hope I've said that name right. Yes. Forgive me if I haven't. Mr. Kebo Akparibo is the Executive Secretary of the Telebere VSL Association. Well, hello to you both. Why don't you first tell us about this concern of women not being able to escape poverty?
Thank you very much, Kojo, and pleasure to meet you. So we at the Ghana Federation of Forest and Farm Producers, which is a national federation that was birthed in 2018, towards consolidating the efforts of a number of forest and farm producer organizations in Ghana across 3 ecological zones, that is the Savannah, the transition, and the forest ecological zones, have found out that there is an opportunity to be able to create pro-poor wealth creation opportunities, especially for women. But there are feeding problems that we all need to address. In the face of climate change, there is a need for a paradigm shift from single commodity value chains to more diverse commodity value chains, which we call the baskets of products.
Right.
Now we are doing this in partnership with the Forest and Farm Facility that is being supported by the FAO in collaboration with its global partners. We are looking to ensure that we are using our strength in numbers to be able to address key issues concerning our membership.
Right. So tell us a bit more about your federation. Which parts of the country do you operate in?
So we have structured the federation across 3 key ecological zones. That is for the northern sector, that is the Savannah ecological zone, the transition zone, and the forest zone.
Right.
So for each of these zones, there are existing FFPOs that have had the opportunity to partner the FFF project, that is the Forest and Farm Facility project, towards delivering services to their members.
Right.
So our constituents are mainly farmers, that is smallholder farmers, but then also member-based organizations.
Okay.
So these are all member-based, self-selected towards a particular cause and across various value chains across the country.
Okay. Hajia, tell us about some of the problems that you and other members face.
Yes, thank you very much for having us to discuss this very important national issue, especially climate change, women, and how their livelihoods are affected for that matter. Yes, as women, women are very close to nature. A lot of the things we do is nature related. We go to the farm, we harvest, we fetch water, we carry firewood. So they are all forest and farm related, in addition to the direct farming that we do. Now, in doing all these things, in relation to your question of challenges, we do all these things hoping to do it well and get returns on it. But we are always confronted with a number of challenges. And critical among them is the climate change that is approaching. It's even very close to us. It's just there, we are living with it. And how does climate change affect women and our livelihood in relation to our forest and farm activities? Now you see that there is constant reduction in yield. It's very real. We see that women now need to spend more time to access firewood to be able to live as an energy source. We see that water is becoming constantly a matter of concern because it's getting short every time, and women have to spend more time to go and access water. We also know that when it comes to herbs, because women are always close to people, they heal them, we are caregivers. So as caregivers, nature is very fundamental to us. And for that matter, crops and what is contained on the land is very important to us. And we are consistently losing that as much as well. So in addition to that, it's also the issue of even economic resources to be able to even invest in what we want to do well. Critical amount it also is an issue of information. You know, as women, because of a lot of time we spend in providing unpaid job, we have little time sometimes to even be part of community meetings, to take information that will be very meaningful for us to be able to be resilient in whatever we are doing. So moving forward, very, very importantly, this particular FFF project, which is very particular about building models that will help women that the little time they have, business-wise, along the value chain, they're able to develop businesses that will be able to be income generative, based on what they have now. So it's very important as far as this particular project is concerned. Then it's also important that we overcome the critical challenge of how do we get women to get the right information at the right time so that they can be very, very resilient and overcome the challenge of climate change. Because with farming, if you don't have information at the right time, you may farm, but you will not get the best. And that has always been the issue of women. We spend a lot of that time doing things that do not allow us to be able to assess. Besides that, when we are talking about rural farmers, who are the real core of the people who feed this our nation, which we don't, I don't think that anybody wants to contest the fact that women along all the agri value chain, we play a very critical role. And for that matter, it is important that we are developed in terms of capacity, in terms of information, in terms of strategic resources, inputs at the right time, at the right place, with the right quantity, to be able to do the right transformation and then move forward. Because women's income has improved, and it's agric is what gives a lot of our rural women money. In addition to other tree crop activities like shea, if you come to the northern sector, if you come to the southern sector, you look at a lot of women are into cashew production. So if you look at all these tree crops, in addition to the crops that we farm traditionally, then that gives us the fact that, and they are all being affected by climate change.
This is what I wanted to ask you, and if you don't mind, I'll stay with you. I'll stay with you for just a moment longer. How are you able to tell that these challenges are being caused by climate change? You know, it's an issue that is debated heavily across the world. There are some who don't even believe it exists. So what are the things that you see on the ground that tell you clearly that it is climate change causing these challenges?
Research, climate change is, there's definition for climate change. There are consequences for climate change. So if you understand the definition and you break it down in the various components of climate change and what it stands for and what the consequences are, if you are living in an environment and you are faced with them, then you can attribute it to it. That is practically how we are doing the attribution now. Now, in addition to that, you also know that for us, if we compare in terms of how the environment has been, the landscape has been, and what we are getting out of it, compared to now, where the forest is almost off, and then you are not getting the yield, and then you need to use more chemicals, the soil fertility is reducing, the ecosystem is just almost off. Then you can just say that we can say we are attributing it to climate change, just based on practical issues that are on the ground.
Okay. So who knows about this? I mean, who have you spoken to in authority, and what's being done?
So we are working in partnership with the FAO, with its partners on the forest and farm facility. We're also building the necessary relationships with government institutions such as the Ministry of Food and Agriculture, the Ministry of Environment, Science and Technology and Innovation, and then the Ministry of Lands and Forestry. Now we are trying to launch GhaFFaP because we've done our initial zonal level activities at the various ecological zones, had some media roundtables where we highlighted the issues of women in agriculture. And tomorrow at the Swiss Spirit Alisa Hotel, we will be doing the national launch of GhaFFaP to now birth the whole GhaFFaP idea that has been in the works. And I must say that this, could you? GhaFFaP is not coming to replace the various FFPOs in terms of their identity. GhaFFaP is coming to coordinate the collective efforts towards building synergies for greater national efforts in the direction of promotion of climate resilient landscapes and pro-poor world creation.
Okay, what are the signals from government so far? Do they seem interested in actually taking action to solve these problems?
Yes, so far there has been partnership. Already PFAC, where Madam comes from, has had some very useful engagements with the government, especially in the area of rice, where the rice campaign came up in the Upper East region. And there were some positive developments in that direction where the government is, through the Ministry of Agriculture, now providing treasures across those belts that were having those challenges. And so we believe that there is more room for constant interaction between the various government agencies. We know that there's a Ministry of Business Development, and we would want to engage more in that direction because we would want to ensure that we're incubating businesses that are forest and farm related.
In addition to that, let me just add. In addition to that, the government is so much particular about it, in the sense that this launch we are doing, we are getting the Ministry of Agri participating, the SDG Secretariat is coming, the Business Development, I said, is so all the related ministries that work in relation to agriculture and forest and farm, they've all indicated their interest to participate and be part of the launch. And moving forward, we are going to agree on a common agenda as to how to pick the issues that will come out. That has been coming out, will come out from the discussions forward. So they've been very interested. That's
wonderful. Well, let's certainly hope that is a good signal that's going forward. You know, all stakeholders are going to work together to deal with climate change and eliminate it as an impediment to the development of women in particular in your sector. I want to thank you both for your time with us this afternoon. I truly appreciate it.